today are to talk about our resources on the website, where to find them, to provide leadership transition team tips because we're in spring and it's always really important to think about your leadership now instead of later, is what we like to think of it as. And then we're going to discuss upcoming programming offered for the spring semester, which is my favorite thing in the entire world because I love what programming we offer and extra funny engagement that we have. And we're going to answer any questions, of course, and then provide contact information so that you know that we're here for you. Our first one is student resources, and all of our resources and guides that we're going to talk about today are found on the website. And we are actually going to go to the website right now just to see where everything is and all the updates we've done and all the things we added to the website. And the very first one is that our website is split by buckets. And so we have our about, which is just about the team, sub, and everything else about people who are in our leadership. And then we have chapters, which is what we're focusing on today. And then we have current chapters, start a new chapter, student resources, Bolter Bracket Bingo, my favorite. And today we're focusing on student resources. And what I really like about this page and how it's separated is at the top is our required forms for all of our chapters, just to put it at the top and make sure that these forms are getting filled out every year or every year to make sure that you are providing us with information such as your team leadership changes. We like to know who is on your team and who will be transitioning in or out. And even if you don't have a leadership transition this semester, it's totally okay, but well, it's great. It's actually really good. But you would just fill out the leadership team changes and just let us know that there's no changes. And it just helps us keep up to date with your chapter. And then we have food tracking forms, which we'll talk about later. And then the end of semester survey, which is so important for all of our chapters to fill out because this is how we get feedback for our programming and how we can help you with whatever you may need for your chapter. And then in the middle, or when you scroll down a little bit, we have resources for chapter activations. And what's really awesome is that you can do all of these or you can just do one of them. But we see a lot of chapters are dipping into 2 buckets or 3. And I want to say a lot of our chapters do food recovery, but there are a few cases where some of them are just focusing on advocacy and some of them are just focusing on community engagement. And then here's our official chapter agreement, but I know both of you have signed it, so it's good. But here's our official chapter agreement. And then we have leadership team resources, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. And then we scroll down, you got the grant funding application. And then we have updated some of our volunteer resources, our FRN brand guidelines, and then yeah, we'll talk about those and what that looks like. Okay. Some of the resources that we wanted to showcase is our volunteer presentation template, which is under those volunteer resources. And it's a template, so you just go into it and then you'll make a copy for yourself and then you'll take out the screens or the slides that you don't need. And yeah, and you can edit it however you see fit, but this is mostly for getting more volunteers to be engaged with your chapter. And then the next one is the FRN brand guidelines, which is new, but we have a comms department and they're more than happy to help brand your chapter with your own with our FRN logo and your school logo. So if you're interested in that, you should check out the FRN brand guidelines. And if you need help or want to talk to our comms, just let us know. We'll connect you with our comms department. And then we also made this new food donor guide. And that was a result of listening to our network and hearing that you needed more resources for food donor guides and trying to convince food donors to donate food. And we answer common questions in there and we talk about FRN as a whole. And it's a really great resource when you're trying to reach out to new food donors. And all of these are on the website, but we will follow up with an email with all of the resources in links so you don't have to remember where they are, and it'll make it really easy. The next one is leadership transition best practices. And I wanted to talk about this here in spring because it is a prime time for change, and we like to think about leadership team changes sooner than later. And it just helps you set up for success in how you would transfer leadership from you to the next one. And one of the most important pieces of advice for this is that I think that when you are thinking about leadership transitions, that what would you need what would you have wanted, or what, when you got into your e-board position, what would you have wanted to, and what would have helped you become or help you run the chapter is how I like to think of it. But if not, if you're experiencing a I like a break in your leadership, or maybe you need a little bit more help, of course, we're here and you can sign up for a one-on-one call. And I'd love to talk about, volunteer strategies and how to move forward. But these are best practices. So the first one is like for sure looking at what leadership vacancies you'll have at the beginning now so that you can prepare and see how you could best support that transition from the vacancy to what you need. And then hosting elections or offer roles. This is done two ways. I've seen some of them, they'll host elections through Google Forms and then announce it on Instagram, or they'll just, sometimes it's offered within the sustainability department. So it really depends on what's happening at your school. But however that fits into what you have is good. And then, of course, I think having your officers come in now so that you can train them for a semester is really helpful. So that's our step 3. And then, of course, introducing all the new leaders to your food donors and your partner agencies. If you do food recovery, if you do advocacy, then introducing them to your other important stakeholders. And then community engagement, same thing, making sure that you introduce your new leaders to your important stakeholders is how I like to think about it. And then passing the torch, so making sure that you give them the passwords, the resources, and introducing partners. And then I like to add that you could also set up a meeting with me or programs and your new leadership so that we could get to know your new leadership. But this is just what best practices from FOI National. And then we do have some resources on the website for leadership team transitions. And our first one is the leadership team changes. So again, if nothing is happening or no changes are happening in this spring semester, then just letting us know is super helpful. The next one is the leadership team transition checklist. So we put together a list of best practices on how to best transition your team through a checklist, because we love checklists. And then the last one is FRN volunteer information. I like to think of them as twofold. So these forms is the leadership team changes provides us the contact information for who on your leadership team that you want FRN National to directly email about new programming, or if you miss a form, those people would go on your leadership team changes. And then the volunteer information is for all of your volunteers in your chapter, and they would receive a monthly newsletter at the last Sunday of every month. And that's the only information, or that's the only, yeah, that's the only thing we use. That's how we talk to all our volunteers, or I don't know. It's just, it's helpful. If you want them to get for a national news, then adding them to the volunteer information is a good way to do that. And then the next one is our year-round grant funding. And I just wanted to remind you that every chapter does get $300 for the academic year, and you can use the funding in any way that helps helps your chapter. And that could be through FRN merch, or you could get gift cards for your volunteers. You could use it for mile reimbursement. So we hear a lot of that about transportation. So of course, I will show you or email you after this and let you know how you can do the transportation mile reimbursement. And then we seen a really cool increase in people or chapters using reusable stainless steel cans in their food recovery efforts. So we've added that to the grant application. But if you need anything outside of what is on the grant application, then of course email us, let us know links to what you're looking for, how many, where to ship them to, and then you could also use your funding for chapter gatherings and events. But we're gonna go back onto the website so we'll talk more about the grant application for sure. And then also making sure that you track your impact via food tracking forms. So we're going to go back to the website to talk about the food tracking forms and the grant request. Let's start with grant request because I really like this one. So the grant funding, you can access it twofold. One of them is through reimbursement. So you go and buy something and then you have a receipt and you ask us to reimburse you. And then the second one is supply request. And supply request was what I was talking about. And this is just the template of what we think that chapters need to utilize in food recovery. But it's not everything. So of course, if you really like the hotel pans, stainless steel pans, but you want 6-inch deep pans, then let us know. But we just put universal what we were seeing across the network last year onto this grant request. And it's really easy. You just pick what you like and then quantity. And then one thing I'd like to mention is that this already automatically takes out of your grant funding, so you don't have to worry about anything. And then the second thing is the leadership team transition resources that we were talking about earlier. And here's that leadership team transition checklist. We do also have a guide for forming a leadership team. And of course, we love when you give us photos. So here's our upload photo. And then we have a membership form. And the membership form is a volunteer form. So same form. And then if you go up to food recovery, and then under food recovery is going to be the food tracking form. I also want to highlight the food safety resources. If you need food handlers card, just email us and let us know what chapter you're part of, and then I could give you a code to get a free food handlers card as well. And then for food tracking forms, they're located in two places. So the very first one is at the top, and that's the food tracking form. And then it just takes us exactly to the food tracking form. And then we also have it under the food safety resources. So here's the food tracking form again. So you'll see that page. And then one thing I want to mention about the food tracking form is that once you enter your information for how many pounds you recovered and what date or however you set this up, it gets pulled to another Excel sheet and it just can't be erased. So if you accidentally put like 10,000 pounds, but you meant 1,000 pounds, just let us know and we can edit it for you. But we do not give direct access to students to their food tracking Excel sheets, which I'll also show you how to find those. Just because it's a big network and there's lots and lots of students. So we want to make sure that we keep historical data. And yeah, but if you are not utilizing food tracking forms for your food recovery and you have your own Excel sheet and you want to let me know at the end of semester, that works as well. But this is really easy. You just pick your state that you're in. So I'm just going to pick Arizona because I was from Northern Arizona University. And then I would pick my university or campus. And then your food donor and your partner agency show up. If they're not showing up, then you could just let me know in email and then I can update it for you so we can keep this up to date. So then you would pick who you got the food from, who you gave it to, and then for recovery details, you can backdate food recoveries if you need. And the way it works is it's split into two. So one is January 1st through June 30th, and that is our spring semester, and then July 1st through the December 31st is our fall semester. And so if you maybe recovered a little bit of more food after you submitted your EOS, or you did a food recovery on the 31st and you want to capture that, then you would just backdate it to that date and then put total pounds and then go down here and let us know if it was a success or a struggle. If it was a struggle, just let us know how we can help, because we do go through every entry just to ensure that our chapters are having a successful time with food recovery, because food recovery should not be difficult. And if it is, I will reach out to you and see how I can help you. And then you could do a weekly, monthly, or semesterly submission. And again, this is all up to how you want to record your pounds for your chapter. So if it's easier just to put it in semesterly, and then you could just let us know how many food recoveries happened that time, and easy. But if you have maybe a leadership position on your team that their job is to do this every week, then that works too. We just want to make sure that we capture the impact that our chapters do, and however we can get it captured is great, but I want to make it easy for you. So you can email me, you can put in your EOS, or you could do it yourself. Everything is great and amazing. And then I wanted to show you how you can access your own tracking form. So like once you press enter into the website, where does it go? It gets pulled to your exact chapter. So we'll look at Arizona, and then you'll have your university here, and then click it, it'll go straight to yours. These are what I like to call chapter profiles. And if you want to add a picture to your chapter profile, you could just email me and let me know, and I can add it. Some chapters do that. And then you'll have your city, your date of founding, recovery locations, and partner agencies. Again, if you're looking at your own chapter profile and you want to update any of that, then let me know, and then we'll update it, and super easy. And then you'll click pounds to date. Some chapters have their Instagram link, and so if you have an Instagram and you want to link it to your chapter profile and it's not there, email us and then we'll add it. Or if the Instagram link that you do have on yours is outdated or older and you want to update that, let me know. Both twofold, I'll get that up to date. And then you'll just pick pounds to date, and once you press enter, it goes into the respective semester of the date that you choose. And so you can see that Northern Arizona utilizes theirs, and yeah, you can utilize your food tracking form however you see fit. So if you want to get into the notes and say how many pounds of overproduction and where it went and who it went to, then that's good. If you just want to put pounds and that's it, then that's good as well. However it works for you, it's good for us. And then we also have a funding tab, and there's different buckets here. We have limited time funding, and that is your $300. That is your yearly FRN funding. Extra funding available happens through external grants or sometimes donors. And oh, we have a Q&A. Oh, hi. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for joining late, but I had a question from the student of Sustainability, University of Michigan. How students work with dining halls to get leftovers legally. Oh, perfect. That is actually a great question. And let's see. I have a food donor guide for this specifically, and one of the things we like to talk about is the Bill Emerson Act and how that protects you from liability when you're donating food. But it's mostly just opening up the conversation with dining, seeing what exactly their concerns are and how you can address that. Whether that's if they're worried about liability, then Bill Emerson Act covers them in liability. If they're worried about how to or their food temperature, or how food's going to get from the dining hall to the partner agency, then there's different ways we can go about that. Oh, don't worry. That's okay, Kelly. Thank you. Um, oh, yes, Gabriella. Or-
Hi, sorry. I wanted to add to this conversation about recovering food from dining halls because we had the same exact problem at American, but something that's really helpful is to figure out what your dining company is. At AU, we use Chartwells. I'm not sure what they use at Michigan, but if you find out like what company you have and then you see what other schools they provide for. And then you can see like if they've had food recovery network partnerships in the past. That's kind of very helpful. Because sometimes they think this is like a brand new idea that's never been done before, but when they see that other schools in their company have done this successfully, then they loosen up a little bit. At least that's what I found. I hope that's helpful.
No, that's amazing. You're the perfect person to talk about it because of, yeah, American worked hard. They worked hard to work with dining. So, yeah, I think it'd be great to connect you guys after. But yeah, there's lots of different ways, definitely. It's all about communication and working in collaboration with dining, and we can help for sure. And then we also made a new food diner donor guide that was talked about a little bit earlier, so I'll make sure to get that to you as well. And then, but thank you so much, Gabby. That's food tracking. And then I wanted to highlight our, um, oh, I'm gonna put this over there. Okay. And then I wanted to highlight our roadmap, and this is what our spring's gonna look like. So we put food tracking forms all the way across because recording your food pounds all semester is super incredible. This next one is Bowl to Bracket Bingo, which is my favorite event ever, and that's happening at the day after Super Bowl all the way until the last day of March. So we'll talk about that next screen. Earth Month, of course. So be on the lookout on how you can engage during Earth Month and potential offerings that FRN National will have. And then leadership team transitions, always important to start in March and then get them all the way situated in May. And then we are offering grad courts this year. So that will be released in one of the newsletters. Be on the lookout for that. If you don't get it, just email me and I will send you the grad form, cord form. And then end of semester survey and new leadership forms due at the end of, I think they're due in May. Really important to get because we do utilize all of that information that we get from both of those forms. And then I wanted to plug signing up for a one-on-one because we are always here all the time. We can brainstorm ideas on volunteer engagement because volunteer engagement is twofold. One, how do you keep them engaged in your chapter? And then two, how do we get more friends utilizing your grant funds, talking about how to expand your chapter. And if you have questions about what you can and cannot spend grant funding on, definitely sign up for a call. And then even how to plan for Bowl to Bracket Bingo, because that has 24 events in it and lots of planning happens in that. And it's really fun. But we're here to support all your efforts. So whatever you need help on or questions on. And then I wanted to reiterate that we're here for you and we have lots of ways to engage in communication with us from you can DM us on social media, you can email us at programs. And I just want to say that no question is a silly question. A silly question is one that's not answered or asked. So whatever question you have, I love to answer those. And then, oh, we got another one. Oh, but I want to ask what resources are being offered in case I missed in the beginning of the notes. Oh, no worries. I guess. Oh no, I don't have a Bolt Bracket Bingo slide, but I'm gonna pull out Bolt Bracket Bingo real quick so you can see it. It's right here, and it happens the day after Super Bowl. It's the last day of the March, and there's 24 activities, but you have to complete it in that time, and you'll get automatic funding for your chapter for the square challenge you complete. Most of the board is, well, not most, all there's a mix of advocacy, food recovery, and hosting events for your volunteer on the board. So we try to make a mix of things that are easy for all chapters to complete, but if you complete and so there'll be more instructions, but either you'll email us, you'll upload a photo, or you'll fill out an FTF with pictures on these individual challenges, and then you'll get credit for those board activities that you do. And then for resources, there's a lot of resources. So we have, if you go under current student resources on our website, these are all the forms at the top that are required. But resources for chapters vary. So we have food recovery resources, and there is free food handlers card through that. And then we have a food recovery guide on how food recovery could look like from beginning to end. It's massive, and we're always updating it. And then we have advocacy resources, and then we also have community engagement resources. And then we have volunteer resources at the very bottom. And then the grant application is on this website page as well. And then our FRN brand guidelines that we were talking about, volunteer resources. Under volunteer resources is going to be the volunteer presentation that we talked about and volunteer recruitment guide, which is filled with a lot of amazing tips and tricks on how to engage your chapter. And then, yeah, do we have any more questions? I don't know how I can see other than, oh, Picasso. Oh, nice. Yes, I we I'll do some poking around for that, and then and how I can help you. And then here's our contact information. Yay! Here's our contact information. You can email us at programs@Food Recovery Network, and then make sure to add us as a contact in case so we don't go to spam.